So here we are, number 4 on 5.1 to 5.4 quiz review. The answers were posted x equals 3.06. These are all rounded to the nearest hundredth. X equals 3.24. X equals 50.57. I know a lot of you got 50.82. That's okay. That just means that you probably rounded one step earlier than me. I didn't round until the very end. You can see right here with my work. No, you can't. I added 2, then I divided by 3, then I just took my answer to the 4th power. And that's why I got a more exact answer than you did if you got 50.8. In D, what you should do in this problem is, in my expert opinion, I would take 1 over the square root of x and rewrite it as x to the negative 1/2. So there are 2 rules sandwiched together there. One, if you have something in the basement, like 1 over x to the a, you could rewrite it as x to the negative a. That's one thing that I incorporated there. The other rule that I incorporated is the square root of x is x to the 1/2. If you put both of those together, you get what I did. This was in the bottom, so it comes upstairs as a negative, and it was in a square root, so it's 1/2. For the next step, we're going to try to get rid of the negative 1/2 power. And to do that, you're going to raise both sides to the reciprocal power. The reciprocal of negative 1/2 is negative 2. So the answer is going to be x equals 0.87 to the negative 2, and you get about 1.32. To check your work in all of these, just plug your answer back in for x. If you do 1 divided by the square root of 1.32, you should get approximately 0.87. Let's go to part E, and then we'll open it for questions here in the live classroom. Ready? E. In E, you're going to want to do the reverse order of operations. Let's zoom in on this a little bit. Whoa. It is right there. And if you knew what x was, I've done this a few times in class. If you knew what x was, you would divide by 4. Then what? Add 1. Then what? Take it to the 8th. Then times 500. So to undo all that, to unwrap all that, think of someone wrapping a present. They put this layer on, then they did a bow, and then they did something else, and then they put it inside a bag, right? To get to the present, you'd have to take it out of the bag, then you'd have to undo that something else, then you'd have to take the bow off, then you would unwrap the paper, right? So you're doing it all backwards to get what you want. So instead of multiplying by 500, divide it. And I didn't write down my steps along the way. Does anybody have that, what that comes out to? Okay, you don't have to write down your steps. Nope. You can just do the reverse. So instead of taking it to the 8th, here, you can either take the 8th root of both sides or raise it to the 1/8 power. Raise both sides to the 1/8 power. I usually do the latter, the second thing. Raise both sides to the 1/8 power. And what do you get? Okay. That gets rid of the 8 exponent. Then, the opposite of adding 1, take away 1. And finally, multiply both sides by 4 to get rid of the dividing by 4, and you should get 0.028, which, if I said round to the nearest hundredth, you would say 0.03. Okay? If this is a word problem about money that's being compounded, we've talked about this in the past as well. How much money would this account have started with? $500. For what compounding time? If you're dividing by 4, quarterly. If that was a 12, it would be monthly. The exponent, 8, would be the number of quarters, actually. It's always the number of compounding periods, okay? So it would be 8. How much money would you be trying to attain? 529. And then what we actually solved for is the interest rate, which would be what as a percent? The bank would be offering 3%. Pretty good. Any questions?